There, anatomytools.com. All right, so let's get back to our models. Okay, so I want to put some little eyeballs in this guy, okay, really quick. So instead of sitting here just doing this, okay, let's actually put a sphere there, right? So we're going to use an insert mesh brush for that, which these brushes you're going to be able to do some crazy stuff. Okay, so hit the B key, which again is pulling up our brush palette, right? Hit the I key for insert mesh brushes. And what I want you guys to find is the one that says IMM primitives. Okay, which is right here. I'm highlighting it right now. And what's going to happen is you're going to see a menu pop up along the top, which are a whole bunch of primitives. Okay, everyone see those? Anybody not able to get to this brush? Everyone's good? Okay. So all you do is you click on any one of these that you want. So we want a sphere. So I'm going to click on this sphere and you see it highlights it. So just click on a sphere. Click on the first one. Now go here where the orbital bone is and draw out, and what do you get? 2 spheres. Right, I get 2 because I have symmetry on. Okay? Now, you might have not sized it right. You might have not put it in the right position, and you want to move it around, right? So this is just like what you guys have in Maya, a gizmo, right? So if you hit the W key, you'll turn the gizmo on. So hit the W key, and then your gizmo will be on. And if you see my gizmo, see it's kind of like it's crooked, right? It's not perfectly aligned to the world. Where like when you turn on Maya, it's like it's perfectly aligned to the world every time, right? Well, we use this gizmo for a lot of amazing tricks. I'm going to show you one of them right now. Okay, so we're a sculpting application, so we're always evaluating the surface. So when you guys click and put that sphere, what we did, if look in the palm of my hand, then let's say my Wacom pen is the sphere. We clicked and found this vertex point, and this vertex point has a normal to it, and it's a certain direction. So when you draw that sphere, it's drawing out on that little vertex point, and then you're plopping it. And then this gizmo automatically gets set to that angle. That's what's happening here. I'm gonna, hold on, let me turn off this. Let me turn off the screensaver. Okay. All right, so that's what's happening. Okay, so you see your guys, if you guys turn on your gizmos, your guys' gizmo a little bit like mine too. It's a little off-centered in the world. Okay, so here's how you reset it. So there's 2 modes to the gizmo. There's a lock mode, and then there's an unlock mode. Yay! Okay, so lock mode means if you guys click on anything like any of these arrows, what are you doing? You're going to move the sphere around, right? And then this is all the same like every program. Arrows is move, boxes are scale, and the lines are rotate, right? That's in every gizmo. I don't have to explain all that, right? Everyone gets that, right? And then these corner ones are screen space. So it's 2 axes at the same time based upon how we're looking at the model. Okay, and then this white one is rotation. Okay, screen rotation though. Okay, it's not a particular axis. Okay, so if you notice even mine, you see how mine's rotating? It's kind of rotating like this. Like if my hand was the sphere, it's like, whoa, whoa, like we're more on a carnival ride. Okay, so you need to be able to control things here. Number one, I need to be able to control this gizmo by itself. Like if I want to do, look at me, look up here. I want to be able to do this and see how my sphere is not moving. Or do this and see I'm actually readjusting my gizmo and the sphere is not moving. If I do this, see the sphere starts rotating. This is the difference between lock mode and unlock mode. So lock mode means whatever you do to the gizmo, do it to the mesh as well. And by default, it's going to be in lock mode. Would you guys see there's a little icon right here, right? See a little icon right there? See there's a little lock? Okay? If you click on it, it becomes unlocked. Right? What that means now, if you guys, anything you do to the gizmo, it does nothing to the mesh now. So this allows you to readjust your gizmo. Okay? And you can actually keep readjusting this as much as you want, right? So Again, if you notice, did I turn that lock on and off when I was doing all this movement? No, right? If you notice, I'm turning the lock on and off on the fly. See that? So what do you think key am I holding? Let me rephrase it, I guess. What's the opposite key?
Alt.
Yeah, stay with authority. Yes, Alt, the Alt key, right? So when you hold the Alt key and you're hovering over the gizmo, look, it becomes unlocked automatically. And if you let go of the Alt key, the lock key comes back on, and you got to be hovering over the gizmo for it to go unlock and lock state, right? Everyone understand that? With me? Yes. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to reset the gizmo because I want to move these eyes along the z-axis, the x-axis, and the y-axis exactly along those axis points, right? So what I'm going to do is hold the Alt key and click on the little rotational icon. And what that does is reset the gizmo to world axis, just like you would in Maya. So a little bit, think about the unlock state like the insert key for Maya, moving your gizmo around in Maya, right? For those that maybe have done that. Okay. And now if you notice, this my gizmo is like sitting out somewhere else in the world. Okay. And what I'd like to do is recenter the gizmo to the direct center of each sphere. So you notice now that gizmo is sitting perfectly in the center of the sphere. And to do that, you got to click on the little map quest item right here. That little icon that says right here, me. You click that, and then whatever's unmasked is being used as the centering portion, right? Because if you look, our heads are dark, right? You see that our heads are dark? That means the entire head's masked off because we just inserted whole new meshes, i.e. tools, right? As spherical shapes. So we automatically mask off what you were drawing on for this brush and allow you to do this, allow you to move this, because now I want to be able to move, right, this and say, okay, the eyeball needs to sit a little bit more in, and I'm going to go a little bit bigger. And you notice what happens when you go bigger. What's happening to your spheres? They're scaling, but what else are they doing? Yes, yes, I heard somebody. Moving, right? They're moving as well, right? Because you guys got to remember, we're in the world of ZBrush, and we have symmetry. So there's actually two gizmos right now. There's not one, there's two. Because there's one over here on this eyeball, and there's one over here on this eyeball. So you got double whammy. Wherever your gizmo sits in the world, just like Maya, that's your pivot point, right? So I have two pivot points actually. So this gizmo is sizing this, and it's also sizing this one. And because this gizmo is sitting way over here compared to where this sphere is, that's why it starts scaling and moving away. Do you guys understand that? Have I lost anybody there? Because we're going to solve that really quick. Okay? I'm going to solve that very fast. There, it's solved. Problem solved. Yeah, see now the spheres, they're all scaling, just scaling, and they're not moving away from each other. And now they're just scaling based upon where my gizmo is, which I can center it. And then there you go. So what I've activated here is something called local symmetry. So I'm telling ZBrush, if you look over here to the right, look over here, right? See that L sim button? That stands for local symmetry. So by default, ZBrush's symmetry uses the world axes, like look at the floor grid, right? It's just going, there's a left and right in the world, and that's what it's using. If you turn on local symmetry, it now uses actually the meshes bounding box as its ability to know what side's left and what side's right, instead of using actually the world axes for that. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, ready? We're ready to move on. Everyone's ready to move on? Okay.
Please, one more time, please.
For which part? The local?
Uh,
To
this
doing this? Doing this?
yeah.
How to do this? How to do this? So they're not moving apart from each other? So you mean yours is doing this right now, right? Is what you're saying? They're moving away from each other? And you want to know how to not do that? That's what you're asking, right? So all you do is turn on this button right here, LSIM. This it says LSIM, which stands for local symmetry. That's telling ZBrush to treat the symmetry now as like local to the mesh, local mesh symmetry, not world symmetry. And then with that on, it's now going to scale the eyes the way I want them to scale. And then the gizmo works like any other gizmo in any other application, right? Arrows are moving. That yellow square is 3-axis scaling, right? One square is only 1-axis scaling. So I'm using the yellow square to uniformly scale the eyeballs up and down. And then I'm just using the arrow keys, right, to move this into position where an eyeball should be sitting on a face.
I have a question.
My,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Christine.
you can do it, yeah.
Okay. I just a quick question. Like when I try to insert the sphere, it like switches instead of the head, it switches to the sphere.
Mhm. Yeah.
I think I missed a step. That's all.
I love it. You're showing a feature. Okay, so what's happening to Lauren is, watch this, people. She's actually showing what I wanted to show next. So Lauren, good time. I like it. We're working well. We're copacetic. Watch this, everybody. You see that it's a sphere? Now it's a cylinder. Now it's a cube. See that? Watch. I'm gonna one up this. Ready? Wait for it. Here's another brush. Watch. No, now it's that. Now it's that. Now it's that. Now it's this. Now it's some rocket boosters for eyeballs. And then I can, which one do I want? So she is activated. She's doing a feature inside of ZBrush right now, where insert mesh brushes, I can actually swap out meshes when the gizmo's on. Okay, so what's happened to her is she's done this. She's got the head with the gizmo on, and then when you click, what gets deleted? Everything gets deleted that's not masked off, and we swap it out for you. I can tell you how much I use this. This is crazy awesome how often I use this. Okay, so what you need to do, Lauren, I'm going to go backwards now. Okay, starting all over again. Okay, go back to just the head and turn off your gizmo. Okay, so there, I'm back to it, right? So you see my gizmo's not on. Make sure your gizmo's off. Then with this brush, grab the sphere and draw it out, and then you'll have this, and then you'll see the head will go dark, and then what you'll have left with are the spheres. Okay? That solve your problem? Yes?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Kristen, go ahead. What was your...
Yeah, my selection of eye is not, showing to the white color. It's just only the dark color. So how can I make it?
You cleared your mask, that's all. Okay? So you got this, right? This is what you have, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've cleared your mask. There is nothing masked off. Okay? So if I turn on polyframe mode, which is, does anybody remember what that shortcut is? To give her that shortcut? Does anyone remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone remember what this shortcut is? Shift F. Okay, and you see that the eyeballs are, the spheres are different color than the head. You guys will have different colors than me. It won't be red and like this orange. You might have blue and greens or whatever. Could be different. The head will not be red, right? Okay, is this what you have? Okay, so I want you to, here you go. Here's how you can do it. Turn the gizmo on, which is what shortcut? The W key, okay? And I want you to hold down Control and tap on the eyes. And now you'll mask the head back out again, and only the eyes will be unmasked.
Mm-hmm. Yes, now I can do it. Thank you.
Yep. So what I just showed you guys is actually a way to mask out this is polygroups. These color things are called polygroups. So you can, this is a technique where I can mask out every polygroup but one on a mesh, right? So for example, if I switch to say the demo soldier, right? And if we look at just him, you see how he's got different colors, right? This is gonna allow me, I can select and only look at the arm. I can only look at this arm. I can look at just this is what polygrouping will help us do. But what I can also do is mask off every polygroup but the green one, as an example, or just that arm. So that's what I just told her what to do. I just gave her, that's a feature. that we've put in to make it easy to start working. Okay? Cool?
Yep.
Okay, so we are in Dynamesh mode. So what we're going to do now is right now, when we're in this Dynamesh mode, these spheres are still separated. They're not attached to the head at all in any shape or form. Okay, we'll plug it in. Okay, I'll be done in a little bit. Thanks. See you in a little bit. Thank you. Okay, so what we want to do now is I want to maybe sculpt across the eyes and the face. Okay, so what Dynamesh is going to do for you is weld everything together. Because one of its rules is watertight welding everything together. So what I want you all to do, hold down Control, click and drag anywhere in the document, do it twice if you have to, and you'll see the eyeballs are now welded to the face. So now you should have something like what I have. Yep. Yep. No, 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 Allison. What's going on over there, Allison?
It's not working for me. I don't know
Are
why.
So do the first thing for me. Go to the tool palette, open up
Okay.
geometry, and make sure your Dynamesh button's actually on.
Got me there. That's what I want.
I'm here for you.
Yep, now I'm good. Thank you.
I'm here for you. I'm here for you all. Okay, so what Dynamesh is doing, again, besides fixing the mesh for us as we sculpt, it's going to give us the ability to actually weld things together, like booleans on the fly. Have you guys ever used booleans inside of Maya? I know Bonnie has, right? We have that now. In fact, our system's pretty epic. Our system's amazing. As a toy maker, our boolean system's amazing. It's what I use to do everything and also model with. It's awesome. Okay, so this is now just a system that we're doing, right? Okay, so what I want to do now is maybe let's add like a chest to him, right? Let's add a torso to this head. So obviously you could just use a sphere, right? And size things up, right? You could do that. That'd be simple to do. Okay, but what I want to do just for fun, let's switch to a different brush. Okay, instead of just, so what I mean by I can use a sphere is I can do something like this, right? And then I would start, you know, as an artist, start stretching this, making this, okay, this is going to be the torso, right? Boom. And then I go along and see everything's going to be welded. See how everything's welded? So I can sculpt across, right? And see I'm sculpting across everything. That makes sense? You guys see where I'm going here? Okay, so let's have a little bit more fun with this. Okay, let's just put a different type of torso on this. Let's put an actual torso on this head. So what I want you guys now to select is the B key, I for insert, and you're going to see a brush that's called IMM parts, and it's got a human head as the icon. It has the number 20. Everyone see that? Click on that, and what do you get along the top? Body parts, right? You've got feet there, you've got full legs, full arms, different heads. You got a female head, a couple male heads. You even got an ear, and you can see there's a male torso and a female torso. Okay, everyone see that? So I'm going to do a female torso. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on the female torso. Then I'm going to come here to ZBrush, and am I in symmetry mode right now? Right? How do I know that, Lauren? How do we know that?
Because it's mirrored on each side and there's 2 circles.
Right? There's, see that other dot on the other side? So what I'm going to do, because I'm in symmetry mode, I'm going to bring it so that it becomes 1. Right? So see how the 2 dots become 1. And when I do that, and I click and drag out, what do I get?
Torso.
A female torso. Right? And I only get 1 because I made the 2 brushes come together. It's like Voltron. They're coming together, making Voltron. 5 powerful robots to make 1. Right? So again, because you're in symmetry, I'm going to bring them together, And this allows me to, I know I'm sitting in the symmetry part of the model, and now I just click and drag, and bingo, I get a female torso. And what happens to the head? What's happening to the head?
It's masked.
It's masked. So what does that mean for you with this female torso now?
You're only impacting the female torso and not the head.
And what can I do now?
Move it to where you want it and then combine it.
There you go. Right? Look how easy it is to sculpt now. Oh man, if I only had this in 1997, Bonnie, my work would have been so much better. Right? And then now I do this twice, and now it's all connected. Whoops. Right? See this? It's all welded. And now I already have a start of a body with a torso. Right? And then I can grab, just for fun, let's grab a male arm. Yes. And then I position this where I want. There you go. Right? And then I weld all that together. And then see, this is all welded together. Now I've got a female body with a male set of arms. And see, all I'm doing is I'm smoothing down stuff and redynaming. Right? And then as an artist, we start sculpting across this stuff now. I bring in a clavicle bone. Okay? So this is a workflow that people do. This is they'll turn something in Dynamesh mode and they'll just start throwing pieces together. It's like kit bashing. It's like when you build a model kit, like when you go buy like a model somewhere, like a Gundam or like a car or a plane, you start putting all the pieces together to make the final piece. That's in essence what I'm doing. I'm just grabbing parts of a brush and throwing it at it, make it be art. Okay, and then I'm re-dynameshing as we go, right? The control, click and drag, so the things weld together. Because we opened a project that has Dynamesh already turned on, except for Allison, she went a whole nother route. She turned Dynamesh off. She did her own thing. Okay, does this make sense for people? Like, I don't need you guys to be where I'm at right now. I'm more just doing that so you guys can start seeing the workflow that starts happening here. Yeah? So you got to think about it. Like, guys, this goes back to, you got to practice this. You got to get used to drawing it out, understand you got to switch the gizmo, move it around, and then draw, and then understand everything's going to weld, and you can sculpt across it. Yeah? That's the workflow. There's nothing else. That is the workflow. You draw something out, move it around in the position you want, size it to what you want, control, click, and drag in the open document. It'll unmask, do it again, we'll weld everything together. Right? Okay? So let's go back to the head and have a little bit more fun here with the head. Okay? Unless somebody needs me to repeat one of those steps previously. Because we've only got, what, 45 minutes left. So I want to keep giving you guys some more items here to work with. Okay, everyone good? I'll move on to the next feature. All right. So you all have the same head. So what I want you guys to turn on is Sculptris Pro. So that's a button here on the top. And your icon, your brush icon should turn purple. It shouldn't be red anymore. So Noah, like he's mentioned, he said he downloaded ZBrush Core Mini. ZBrush Core Mini is only Sculptris Pro. That's all it is. Everything else I'm talking about is not in Mini. Right? Dynamesh is in Core and Dynamesh is in the full version, but it's not in the Mini version. All right? What Sculptris Pro is dynamic tessellation, which means when I go to sculpt, look at the quality now of my brush strokes. See how much more detailed they are? See, the quality level is a lot better now? Because if I turn on wireframe, we are actually adding triangles as you sculpt. So that's what dynamic tessellation is. As you're brushing across the system, we're adding on the fly triangles. Okay? And the smaller the brush size, the more triangles you get. Right? Look how much more dense that is compared to that. And then look at this brush stroke. See? This is starting getting a little bit better quality brush stroke. Okay,
When
so
did you turn this on?
right up here in the top, if you look, I'm magnifying it right now. This icon right here.
Okay.
And then with that on, that now the brushes, all the brushes that can sculpt are going to just add triangles as you're going. Does that make sense? Right? So if you look out here, let me see if I still have this guy on my computer. As an example, you see this gorilla that I made? This is all with Sculptris Pro only, right? So when I turn this on, see that all the triangles are completely different sizes and completely different things? Do I really need more triangles here to make a flat surface? No, I don't, right? So I only need, if you look, the head, like all these, how big the triangles are here compared to the face. Because where did most of my sculpt take place? It took place in the face, right? And then this is this, and then I also added an extra rendering thing in this, right? So you can see all the skin detailing that I'm starting to put in. That's me just turning on Sculptris Pro, and then there's the render, and then I started putting some like more realistic eyes. But you see like out here, see how tessellated it is? Can you guys see that tessellation right here? What I mean by tessellation, it looks fast, like you can see the planing of the polygons compared to see how smooth it is through here. Is because I've worked more in here in this area, right, with Sculptris Pro than I did over here, right? And that's all I'm doing here. Okay? So the reason why I want to do this is there's something I want all of us to do. Let's erase the ears. Like, let's get rid of the ears. Okay? So with Sculptris Pro on, I want you guys to go to a really large brush size. Let's say something like in the 100 range. And then smooth, and what happens? I'm literally erasing the ear right now. Because we're re-tessellating this. In essence, I'm giving less polygons in this area. So because it's less polygons, it starts getting rid of the ear. See that? So the ear is pretty much gone now. Right? And if I come to the front, I can start, in essence, getting rid of the nose as well. So not only can you use this mode to, sculpt with, but I use it to change things. In fact, as a person that's 3D printing all the time, this mode is a lifesaver. Because I'll have things where I'm like literally done with the toy, and then they like 6 months later, like, hey, you know what? The production changed a little bit. We need to add a little more detail, like blah here and here. I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to have to now do 2 days worth of reverse engineering. So I actually can pull up the model that's already toy ready and sculpt on it with Sculptris Pro, and I know it's adding detail. And I don't have to redo all my engineering again. Okay, is anybody not able to do this? Anybody not able to erase the ears? Because we're going to do something else now. I'm going to introduce you guys to another brush. Okay, everyone's good? Everyone can do this. Yes, anybody not able to do this? Okay, so let's go ahead and re-dynamesh. So how do we re-dynamesh? Control, click, and drag. And what it's going to do is get rid of all the triangles now. It's going to go back to the Dynamesh version of this mesh, right? Okay. So again, control, click and drag anywhere in the open document. If you've got a mask, you're going to have to do it twice. And then as long as you have Dynamesh on, Allison, it'll re-Dynamesh. And then now you guys also have something like what I've got again. Anybody not able to get to this? All right. So I was showing you guys a way to take like parts from an insert mesh brush, like the body part and then the arms, right? And things like that. So let's switch to a different type of way of doing this. Let's hit the B key. Then I want you to hit the C key, as in Captain America. I don't know why I went with that. Maybe I just rewatched the Captain America movies recently. Okay. And the second brush in, it's called Chisel 3D. I want you guys to click on that brush. And what happens along the top? What's in there?
Noses.
Noses. So watch, everyone watch before you play. Okay, I like this ear. I'm gonna come here and say, give me an ear. What? So you don't even, look, we don't even have to sculpt ears anymore. We don't even have to sculpt anymore. We can just throw things at it and get our sculpt. This brush is literally sculpting an ear on the fly for you. It's adding an ear and even doing all the undercutting of the ear and everything. Right? So I can, as a user, even do the difference between this way and the other way is this is not adding a mesh. This is actually deforming the existing mesh. Right? So if I say, here's an eye, if I start dragging, see what it's doing? It's just pushing the geometry to make it look like the eye. That's very different than what we did with the other body parts. The other body parts, we were actually adding another piece of geometry and then moving it another. That's not what this is doing. This is just drawing, in essence, sculpting, right on my model. So I can say, oh, yes, perfect. Bonnie, I'm sorry, you're going to see this eye a lot now in class. Right? And then you got different noses. And I'm going to say, oh, I want, yes, perfect. What I wanted. Okay, these are called this is called a VDM brush, which stands for Vector Displacement Mesh. So in essence, these brushes were made from a sculpted mesh, and now they're built into the brush. And now when you draw out on them, they actually give you that mesh. Push the mesh to meet that. So there's like a pig nose in here. There's a dog nose. There's a couple mouths. There's even a mouth that has a mouth sac in it. Right? Got some tonsils. There's some crazy creature mouth that I did. Yes. Right? It's automatically just changing the surface in essence. So instead of just doing a brush stroke, your brush stroke is an ear. Your brush stroke's a nose. Your brush stroke's an eye. Okay? So hit the B key and hit the one next to it, which is chisel creatures. And now you've got some, there's an elf's ear. Here's some horns or a spike. So maybe I want to put some spikes on his forehead, or we can do something like that. Now he's got some spikes now, right? There's some scaling, like dragon scales, right? That'll make it look like dragon scales. Right, so the potential here is just through the roof. Right, to the point, here, let me guys show you, let me really put these brushes in context for you. I think a good group of two guys that started their own company, which again, this is again a ZBrush thing. They started using just mostly ZBrush. They've expanded so much that they've gone a little bit more into more things. And now I think this is their full-time job. There's a website called Flipped Normals. Okay, so this was two artists that just started, you know what, I'm gonna start doing YouTube videos. And now they've grown this little company. And you can see it's really based upon ZBrush. So if you look, right, this little video here, okay, will really show you VDMs in action. Here, let me make it bigger. Look, watch. They don't know what they want. They're just experimenting. And they already have pre-made stuff, right? And they're just starting with a base mesh like this. Okay? And then they're just like, okay, what mouth do I want? So they have different mouths to try. And then look, there's fur. So that's what these brushes are. Like this is just an artist that, oh man, this feature's awesome. I'm gonna make my own. Like they started doing this, the skeletal, right? Some muscle. And then you see different ears. And then they just had different ears. So because depending on the creature they're doing, they're not gonna know what ear they want. Different eyes, different noses. So you can start to see how quickly there's different teeth. It's endless here. If you're like an artist like this that gets the feature, they go start making their own stuff. Okay, so let me put this in the chat so you guys have this. There you go. Okay, so in essence, I'm just using the defaults to make some ugly little character creature thing here. Okay? Everyone understand what these two brushes then are doing? Pretty cool. It's a quick way to get like an ear that you need. Instead of sculpting it from scratch, just grab one of those ears and throw it on your model, right? If you think about it, when I'm sculpting a character, and in a lot of cases, I'm going to start with just a sphere, right? And I'm just going to start shaping and sculpting on it and use brushes like this to start getting things quicker. Okay? Any questions about this so far? All right. So, as an artist and as a person that's using ZBrush, one of the most powerful things about ZBrush, and it was the first application to do this, is allow multi-resolution sculpting. Okay, which means I want to be able to get on this model now to like 10 million polygons so I can get crazy skin pores. Right? I want the skin pores. I want to put some wrinkling. I need more polygons to do that. Okay? So Dynamesh is only going to allow you to go so far. And Dynamesh is meant to do what we're doing right now. I'm blocking out some character. I'm not sure what I'm doing yet. I'm just going to start throwing things at it and see what I like and what I don't like. Okay? So there's a point here where I have to remesh this, make it clean topology so I can start adding, right, more information on this to get a better quality and better quality and better quality and better quality. Okay? So this is where we need to retopologize the entire body and the entire head, right? So i.e. quad draw, right? So forget that. We're going to use the automatic retopologizer in ZBrush, right? With one click of the button, we're going to get new topology. Okay, so whatever creature you guys have going, whatever model you have going, right? Over in the tool palette, which by default you guys will all have. If you don't already have the geometry menu open, open it. Okay? And then you guys, if have Dynamesh on, you'll have Dynamesh on. You can turn it off now because we're gonna stop using Dynamesh. And I don't want to use Dynamesh anymore. So that turns it off. See that the orange button is now off? That means Dynamesh is off. So the control click and drag, all it's going to do is clear masking. It's not going to retopologize on the fly. There's no more welding that'll happen. That button must be on, have to be on in order to do that. Okay? So the resolution slider controls the amount of polygons I get during Dynamesh. The problem with this is you can only have one resolution. That's it. Right? I can't in Dynamesh say, okay, I want to look at this model at 10 million polygons, and then I want to look at it with 1,000 polygons, go back to 10 million polygons, and not lose any detail at all. You can't do that with Dynamesh. So this is why we need to retopologize this and start adding subdivision levels, because that's what we exactly can do with subdivision levels. Right, so in the geometry, there's a menu called ZRemesher. Open that up. Just click on the word ZRemesher. So again, go to Tool, Geometry, ZRemesher. Okay? Everyone may be able to find that, and anybody not able to find that menu. Okay, so do we have symmetry on, number one? Everyone double check. Is symmetry on for you? How do I know? Lauren already told us, right? Look for the brush and that other little dot on the other side, right? So is my symmetry on? Look at my screen. Who says my symmetry is on? Is it on? Yeah, it's on, right? Because the purple brush icon is one side, and then there's a little squared red dot on the other side, right? So that's visually telling me that we're in symmetry mode. Okay? And what I'm going to do now is I want to retopologize in symmetry. So all you have to do is click the ZRemesher button and sit back. And what used to take me like a week long to do now takes like 10 seconds, maybe 30 seconds to do. Like, it really hurts my heart now that I didn't have this 10 years ago. And then there you go. Done. Right? So now you look at this, look at my model now. Look how clean that topology is. It's all quadded, right? It's trying to follow the flow of even the sculpt, right? So the topology is trying to follow along the ear in this case, right? And you see that down here in the jawline, it's trying to follow the way of the mandible. And if I got fingers, right? See, it's trying to go around and retopologize based upon what I was doing with the sculpt. So there, retopology, done, right? Now, is this animatable ready? I'd say it's about maybe 60, 70% of the way there. There's adjustment that would probably need to be done that people would do if I'm animating. But it also, what makes a difference, are you animating for a game or are you animating for a film? Because those are different types of topology now as well, a little bit. They'll fork off at one point. Because film topology will probably might even be a little more dense, and the flow will be a little different depending on what other things they're going to do in the film. Where gaming is, I got to be able to get in the engine, it's got to animate, have collision states. You know, there's different things there, and you're not allowed X number of triangles. Okay, so does everyone understand what this just did? Is anybody not able to retopologize their amazing little creature today? Okay, so what happened though when we retopologized? What happened besides getting nice clean topology, right? It's got a flow. If you notice, it also dropped the polygon count. So now look, I'm sitting only around 13,000 polygons. And before I was at 422,000. That's a big swing. So what happened also to our model? What happened to the model itself? Anybody see anything that changed? Yes, yes. Just like what happened there. Didn't you lose your details? Or isn't some of your details gone? Right? It got softened, right? There's softening, right? Happening. Because you can't put the details that are sitting on a model, in my case, 422,000 polygons, into a 13,000 polygon. That's not possible. There's not enough polygons to make it look the same. It's not possible, okay? So this is how we're gonna solve this. So we now have a clean version of our model. Great, good flow. It means I'm gonna be able to sculpt it. So what I wanna start doing now is dividing up our mesh. So we can start working at, okay, I've got this model form, the arms are there, the heads are there, and now I wanna start putting a little more detail, like maybe I wanna put some wrinkling, or I wanna put some cracks, or whatever it is. I wanna get a little more detail going on here. So what I wanna do is divide my mesh up. Okay, so you come over here and there's a divide button. I click it, and now my model's sitting at almost 52,000 polygons. I click it again, it's sitting at 207,000 polygons. I click it again, it's now sitting at 829,000 polygons, and I'm seeing that number right here. Okay, so now I actually have more polygons than I did before I remeshed it. Do you guys get that relationship now that's happening here? So what I've done here is I've added now 4 levels of details. Okay, so if you're going to go in the gaming world, they'll call it LODs, levels of detail, right? Because when you're playing a video game, which I'm sure most of you do, right? When you're playing, you're running, and you can see something off the distance, they're swapping the models out the closer and closer you get, right? So if I'm here and like my house is way back there, the quality of the house right now, if I'm in the game and here in my little office, is maybe only like 13,000 polygons. But if I'm the game character and the closer I get to the house, they'll just keep swapping the house out and go from the 15,000 to the 100,000 to the 500,000, right? And then they'll do the same thing with all the textures and normal maps. They'll swap them out. That's what starts to make the gameplay faster. And that's what's opened us up to have now these games that we play have huge worlds, like Fortnite's just insane, right? How much you fly around, or Call of Duty. That's how some of those tricks get done. That's what they're doing, is they're having levels of details. So ZBrush, this was the first application to allow you that have different levels of details, and then sculpt on every single one of those levels of details at any point you want, and it all keeps populating up and down, no matter where you sculpt. Okay? So far, so good. Everyone get what I'm explaining here. Now, what I want to do, and you guys should be, so divide your model up to around maybe 1 million polygons, you know, maybe 500,000, 1 million polygons. Does anybody know what the shortcut is to divide? You guys all know how to find it. How do you find it? Oh man, I stink as an instructor. Scroll over the button and it tells you. So what's the shortcut?
Control D.
Yeah. Right? So Control D is always going to be your shortcut to divide up. Okay? And then I'm going to give you guys how to divide up and down, like move up and down now. So you see I have 4. You guys should all have about, you know, level maybe 4, 3, or 5. Don't be a divide king or queen. Don't just start dividing up to 50 million polygons, okay? Only go to maybe 1 million polygons tops. Okay, don't go, yes, Control D, Control D, Control D, Control D. Okay, don't go crazy yet. Okay, and I'm gonna show you guys a trick that this is also something that was just recently, I prefer doing it this way, of getting the details from the old model and putting it in the new model, right? Because the old model was, in my case, like a Dynamesh model, right? That was also Sculptris Pro'd on. And now I've got the new version that's clean topology and all this, right? So I want everyone, pens down, pens down, pens down. Megan, I love it. She's like, they've been down the whole time. They've been down the whole time. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys, I love this. I'll tell you, I'll pull up my gremlin and I'll show you how I even used it in a production sense. Okay. So as I've been working here, have undos, just like any program. Okay. We give you 10,000 undos per mesh, as long as your computer's got enough memory to do it, right? That's a lot of undos. I don't even think I've made 10,000 strokes on a completed model, in all honesty, okay? So you see this little orange square up here. That's my undo state, right? So you can see I have 153 undos right now. I'm sitting at 153 out of 154. And then Bonnie, this is for you as an instructor. Look, it dates it and gives it the time. So you know if they really did their homework and they do it right before class or not. Listen, this is fun. I can't say one of my jokes. I would do this to some of my students just as a joke. I'm like, what the heck? You're sculpted before class. So anyways, this is just a timestamp. It's just telling your undo history, the date you did it, and the time you did it, okay? So all these are saved. So what I can actually do is I can click on this and I can go backwards. I can go all the way to the beginning, right? See that? I can even turn this into a video if I want to, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go backwards to the point when I had all the details, right? So see, I'm back in that $400,000, I wish. Okay, I'm back in that 400,000 polygon range, and look, it's the Dynamesh version right again, right? Okay, what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna hold Control and tap on that undo state. Again, I'm holding Control and tapping, and now I'm gonna move my undo back to the better version. And you see now there's a little gray square. You guys see the little gray square? I just told ZBrush, hey, that one undo right there, that's important to me. I want you to remember that undo. And what I want you to do now is I want you to project the sculpted detail from that undo and put it in where the model's sitting right now. Okay, so I'm gonna go here to my subtool palette. So I had geometry open, so I'm just gonna click subtool. And down at the bottom here, there's gonna be a menu called project. So I'm going to click on that, and then there's a button that now comes alive, and it's called Project History. In essence, it's projecting the history of my undo. And it's not going through every single state. It's going and finding that gray one and say, oh, this is the one you want. Click it, and then ZBrush is going, okay, well, I'm going to take that state, and I'm going to put it in the new version of the model, and now I'm going to have bam, sculpted version in the clean version of the model. Right? So let me show it now in another way with my gremlin so you guys see it in another way and then you guys can try it, okay? So let me pull up my little gremlin guy because this is exactly what saved my life for my gremlin. And right now I'm working on getting him ready to be, I got to finish the sculpt and then I'm going to be CNC machining him out and being like 24 inches tall. So let me turn off his clothes. Okay, so if you look, I've got a bunch of now subtools over here, a bunch of different meshes, right? So this is like, think about this as kind of the outliner, I guess, a little bit inside of Maya, okay? So think that's what the subtool palette is. It's kind of like your outliner, all right? So you can see where I'm at. I got a long ways to go yet. I'm not done with him, okay? So I've started sculpting now the details, right? To start getting like all this detailing, I needed to have a mesh with what I'm showing you guys right now. I needed to have the ability, look, this part's sitting at 5.6 million polygons. Just the mesh that I have on right now, which is just the head. The head alone is 5.6 million. This is how I start getting these fine details because I've divided up and starting to do this kind of scaling item on his top of his head, right? So when I did this though, I started where we all started in just some kind of Dynamesh surface, right? I started with something like this, right? As you can see, because I needed to first make sure I got the proportions and things right for the gremlin. So this is why I started in Dynamesh, right? And then there was a point I needed to, well, put detailing into it. And in this case, I even made the ears separate, right, from the head. That way I can have the ears have their own polygon count. The face can have its own polygon count, okay? This is the kind of stuff they'll also do in the film industry. Because you got to think, like I was saying before, like the Godzilla, right? The camera's going to come up and be close to his face. They need to get to hundreds of millions of polygons on the face. You don't do that in the gaming world. Not now, not yet. That does not happen. The film world, that's definitely happening. And that's where the pipeline changes a little bit, okay? So this is just an example of what I've been showing you guys, where I started sculpting off a head. Here, let me turn off the sculpted version. Down here, this is now being ready for print. So, oh yeah, that looks great, right? So you can see this is where I started, right? And then I went through the process of, okay, I'm going to need to do what we just did. I need to remesh it, and then I need to project the sculpted details back into the head. So this is an example of me using what I just showed you in real world case. Maybe does this help a little bit more seeing it, how it's being used in action then, instead of just on some little fun model that we're doing, right? That feature saves my life, man. I can do whatever I want now. Think about it. I can completely destroy this torso and I don't care because I know at any point in time I can go use the undo history, right? And right now what I'm doing, see, is getting this ready for printing. So this is what I mean by printing in parts. Right, so there's my arm, and the arm's going to print off in one piece. And then I'm going to start using this for live booleans. So this is all going to be we'll come back to this guy, okay? And I'll show you the live boolean thing, because we're almost out of time. Right, because we're done in 20 minutes, right? 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Okay, so what I've done, back to this. So now let's all do this together. You guys ready to do this together now? Let's do it together. Okay, so I'm back to where you guys are. All right? So all you guys got to do is move backwards in your undo history. You can use shortcuts to do that too, obviously, which undo is what?
Control Z.
Right? Control Z. So you can either just use your shortcuts and then stop it at the point you're like, okay, that's where my sculpt is that I like, but it's not the clean version topology. It's not the version where I've been dividing up. And then now just hold control and tap on that orange square. And then move that orange square back to the most recent undo state. That's it. That's all you got to do. That's it. Now just go click that button and let the magic happen. Now just go hit that project all. ZBrush is going to take that information and project it into this model. So the old school way of doing this, people, is I would make a duplicate of the model. I'd have a sculpted version, and then I have a clean version, and I would tell the clean version, go get the sculpted from the other model and put it in. So I've eliminated all this duplicating ability. And then there's brushes wrapped around this that we can do things with. Like, I wish we had way more time. Like, because I haven't even really showed you guys really cool stuff, in all honesty. There's so much more cooler things inside of ZBrush than what I'm showing. But since you guys, a lot of you haven't really used ZBrush a lot, I went this route of just trying to at least get you guys wrap your head around ZBrush a little bit. Hopefully it worked. I don't know if I've inspired you, because usually the cool stuff inspires people.
I mean, I
Hey,
think the stuff you showed was really cool.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is fantastic.
Okay. Okay, so what we are doing, in a sense, what I just taught you guys is a pipeline. I taught you, okay, you guys can literally start from nothing, throw things at it, have Dynamesh weld everything. I can then remesh it, and now I can divide up, right? And now let's say, hey, my ears, I want to change them. I want to make them look a little bit more like elf ears or Spock ears, right? If you look, I'm pretty dense right now, right? I'm sitting at 829,000 polygons. If you guys switch to the move brush, it's going to, right, stretching really a lot of polygons. This is why right here, why I want to work with subdivision levels. I walk down and now I'm only moving lower topology, right? So you see it's easier to move it. It's faster to move it. It'll smooth out quicker too. Like there's all these things now come to play. And now what happens is when I walk back up, the sculpt gets put back on the model, right? So as an example here, let's do something a little bit more. Here, I'm gonna even divide up to 3.3 million. Let's do something and then I'll walk you guys through this, and then I wanna show something for live booleans, and then I know you guys say you gotta go, right? So let's say, oh yes, detailing, perfect. Right? Well, I'm just gonna sit back and watch this for a second, actually. Remember I said there's 13 smoothing brushes? Watch this. See this? Watch. I can smooth out just the peaks. Doesn't this look like crazy little creature skin now? Look at that. That's pretty awesome. It almost looks like even like burnt skin or melted skin now, right? I'm using a brush, a smoothing brush, that only smooths out the peaks of the sculpt. It doesn't touch the valleys. Your valleys are cutting into the surface, your peaks are raised above the surface, right? So I actually, see here in the light box, there's actually a whole brush section with even more brushes. And there's a folder called smoothing. And then there's a peak valleys and peak smooth peaks and smooth valleys. And there's other brushes in here, right? Okay, whatever, with that said. Okay, I have this. And now I go, you know what? I want to make the shoulders a little more broad. Okay? I'm sitting at 3.3 million. If you guys just grab the move brush, okay, and start moving stuff around, oops, brush, right? What happens? This. See how kind of just, this is the way I can put this, all right? If I gave each one of you, as an example, okay, let's just put this in a little bit of a context, okay, to make you understand why you want subdivision levels. If I was there with you physically and say, okay, I've got a table, and on this table I've got a marble, then I got a jar of marbles, then I got a bucket of marbles, then I got a barrel of marbles, and I go, okay, your task, all of you, is to move all of those individual things from one end of the room to the other end of the room, right? So picking up one marble is not difficult. You're gonna pick up a marble, walk in the room, and put it on another table, right? You pick up a jar, you can hold it in your hand. What just happened? You switched from using 2 fingers to using your whole hand, right? Then you go to the bucket, you might switch to 2 hands, right? And then now if you go to the barrel, none of us are probably gonna be able to pick it up, and we're gonna need something like, right, like a dolly, and dolly it over. So my analogy here is, do you see with less marbles, it's less needed to move, right? Compared to if I have a barrel of marbles, I need something to move. So in this context, if I'm sitting at 3.3 million polygons, I'm trying to move around a barrel of marbles, i.e. a lot of polygons. So when you go try to move that around, that brush is really moving around like little chunks at a time, okay? So if I do this, I want to broaden the shoulders, I'm better off walking down to the single marble or the jar of marbles, right? And now that I'm in move mode, I can go with like even a big brush size and see I can add some volume to this. And is it doing what it did before? Am I creating like a little volcano spike coming off its shoulder? No, I'm not, right? This is how I start changing silhouette and form of a model and start changing everything, even like smoothing that down. I don't know, maybe I want to put a little bit of an elbow, more of an elbow in her, like that. See what I mean? See how much easier it is to move stuff, right? It's easier to move things because there's less polygons, i.e. less marbles. But then what we have done is we've allowed you to go, well, I want to now see this movement, not on like a jar of marbles, but show me the barrel of marbles. And you see, as I walk back up, what do we get back? The sculpted detail. This is why you have to use subdivision levels. I've now just created a workflow that if Bonnie came to you, or Clean, sorry, it's a Clean, I guess. What's the name? I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Your other instructor that's in here with us.
Clean.
Clean, right? So if either one of you come to you, either one of your instructors come to you and go, hey, you know what, your ears are off, or your proportions are off, you guys would walk down, make your big changes and fixes that they ask you to make, and then you know you don't have to re-sculpt everything again, because then as you walk back up, you're going to get all the details back, right? And I'm using this slider to walk down, right? I'm walking down, and then I'm walking up, walking down. And I can go one level at a time. And then, of course, you guys should know me by now. I use shortcuts. Right? I don't use that. I never touch that slider hardly ever at all. I always use a shortcut, right? So Control D is dividing. Okay? So if I want to walk up, I use D just by itself, as in divide. Okay? Control D divides. The letter D by itself walks up the subdivision levels. Okay? Walking down, Shift D. So if you notice, what's the common item? What's the common item? Dynamite! Divide, right? That's the common element, is the letter D. So if you guys can just remember, okay, the letter D is involving divide, and now you just got to make it muscle memory. Control D divide, letter D walk up, Shift D walk down. Okay? And if you notice, there's buttons for this too. See, it says higher res. What's the shortcut? See it? D, low res, Shift D. Cool? Everyone's seeing this workflow. Yes, 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 yes. Okay. So before we go, I do want to show something about live booleans because it's amazing. And as a toy person, it's like, and a guy that does a lot of hard surface too. Listen, this is, gosh, awesome. I'm just saying, when we made this feature, I'm loud and obnoxious now, people, but when we made this feature, I was really loud and obnoxious in the office. I was like, yes! Okay? So as an example, okay, let's go back to my gremlin. And I'm a toy guy, right? So I got this torso and I got this arm. So Boolean systems exist in a lot of programs. Maya has it, Max has it. There's other. They cannot do what we can do though. Number one, we can Boolean tens of millions of polygons. Number two, we don't triangulate the whole mesh. Number three, you can use any type of mesh you could possibly bring in. It doesn't matter if it's all triangulated. It doesn't matter if it's all quadded. It doesn't matter if it's subdivision level. It doesn't matter if it's a dynamesh. None of it matters, okay? There's already a lot of advantages there inside of ZBrush. So watch this. I'm going to use the arm for my gremlin to cut out the body so that when I print this, the arm will fit into the body. Okay? That's all I'm going to do right now. And then I'm going to show you way more cooler stuff with live booleans here. And then I can take questions. And then, like I said, it's already 1 o'clock, but I'll talk forever. Okay, so I got the body, right? And you can see I'm prepping it ready to go. So I've already started piecing off and reprojecting the sculpting that I was doing in these pieces. So I'm going to come over here. I've got a subtool that's my torso. And you can see the eyeballs on, just like Photoshop. I've got my arm subtool. And they're all sitting in a folder, right? So we got folders in ZBrush as well. And then it's got an eyeball. So these 2 items are on, okay? And then you got all these other icons through here. So you see this double circle icon right here? These are Boolean states. Okay, I wish we had more time because we do Booleans together. Okay, so this is union. The second one is subtractive. And the third one is intersect. Okay, so those are pretty much your 3 main Boolean options you'll have in most programs that are using Booleans. Instead of subtractive, they'll have, I'm going blank on it right now. Instead of using the word subtractive, they use something else, the word verbiage. Okay, so I'm just clicking on these icons to switch through the Booleans. Pretty simple, yeah? I haven't lost anybody here yet. So you see nothing's happening. Like, okay, great, nothing's happening. Yay. Okay, and it's because I haven't turned on live Booleans. So watch what happens now. I'm going to turn on live Boolean, and I'm going to come over here, and my arm, I'm going to say subtract it, right? So I'm going to say boom, bam, done. There's the hole for my print. Okay, it doesn't stop there. This is what also now becomes different. You're in ZBrush. You still have everything you want at your disposal, i.e., I can even sculpt on this arm still. So this arm, you see, it's still there in the world, right? And I can come on here and actually continue. I'm not sculpting on the body. I'm sculpting on the arm. Look at that. I can literally see, I can use this even to do damaging. Yeah. So I'm adding and subtracting and smoothing. So what I'm actually sculpting on, look, is the arm. Right? And then that's just cutting more differently into the surface. Right? And then I can even take this arm, watch this. This is the live part. I can move it around and put this wherever I want. Right? So, take it in another context. Let's grab the very first model I did with live Booleans. Yeah, I'll grab a couple things. So here's my Rocketeer backpack. All ZBrush, using a lot of live Booleans to make it happen. There you go. There's my Rocketeer backpack. Right? If I turn off live Booleans, you see all the shapes that I'm using? Just randomness. Right? Watch this. Watch this. Let me show you guys something else. Here, let me show you. So I made his gun too. He actually has a Mauser is the gun that he has. Okay? So here's the gun. Look at all the shapes, right? It's just craziness right now. Watch, when I turn live Boolean on, boom. Even the logo is live Boolean. Right? So I can move that logo wherever I want. I even have numbers in the model. All live, and I can move them around, do whatever I want with them, right? If I do something like here, let's go one more down. Well, let me grab something else. There you go. Watch this. Okay, so I showed this image last night, but to give you more ideas here. So you see this ship, right? It's just a ship I started designing inside of ZBrush, i.e. I'm using ZBrush to do designing, concepting, right? Like this. But watch, that's really what the ship's made of. That's really the model part. You see all those shapes? I'm using live Boolean to cut into the surface and make the ship actually come alive, right? So let me show you something else here, and then I'm going to show you guys a trick. So you at least you walk away with, okay, I want to learn more about live Booleans maybe. Here, so this is the gun that I made when we were making live Booleans as we were making it. So I wanted to do a little tip of the hat to District 9. So this is my District 9 gun. Okay. But if you look, it's just a lot of crazy shapes. Okay, to the point of even watch this. I'm gonna let's grab this one. Okay, we're gonna live Boolean this now, turn it back on. And my original design, okay, this is just show and tell now. Okay, we're at show and tell part of this, right? Watch, where do I want those to live? I don't know, where do I want them to live? See the power I start having here? It doesn't end there. Watch this. I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not even sure I want 7. Maybe I only want 4 of them. Maybe I only want 2 of them. Maybe I want 12 of them. Non-destructive. Do whatever I want. It's my world. I'm just living part of it, right? I can edit all this on the fly. This is what live Boolean starts to give me, right? And I can mess and find my design out. Even like you take this little bolt down here, I can say, well, what does it look like if I have 5 of them? Okay, well, wait, there's another piece here. So I'm gonna go, let's copy what I'm using here, which is array mesh, paste it and go, okay, do I like 5 bolts? See, I don't know until I see it. This is the difference. I'm using now a system that's different than what we were talking about with Dynamesh. It's non-destructive. I can change this. And this happens to me with clients all the time. They'll be like, hey, you know, we've changed our mind. Like those princess faces I showed you guys this today. Do you know how many times I resculpted that princess head? At least 12 times. I'm not kidding. To the point where they made me adjust the eyebrows at least 4 or 5 times. That's what's going to happen. But I set myself up to whatever. If they want me to readjust it, I set myself up. I don't actually sculpt the eyebrows in. I make them be a separate mesh so I can adjust it fastly. Right? And so what I'm doing here is using another feature called array mesh, okay? And I'm using it with live Booleans, okay? So watch this, everybody. Watch this. This is where the fun stuff, live Booleans excites me, if you can't tell. I love live Booleans. Oh boy, I love live Booleans. Okay, so I'm going to just duplicate a cube. Right, so in essence, I've got 2 subtools. I just duplicated 2 cubes. I don't care what they are, right? Okay, and one cube that I have selected is really tiny, and it's sitting inside the bigger cube. Get this concept right now, yeah? Simple peasy. And I just turned on transparency so I can see it. I know some of you might have a hard time keeping up with me right now. Just sit back, buckle up, and enjoy the show right now, okay? So because we're so much out of time, I just wanted to show this because as you can tell, it excites me. Watch this. I'm going to tell ZBrush, okay, live Booleans is on. I'm going to tell this little itty bitty cube to be subtractive, right? So it's subtracting in the surface. So i.e., if I start moving this, see, it's subtracting a cube cut out of the surface, right? See, and I can do stuff like that, right? You guys get it now. You get what the Booleans are doing, I would hope by now, right? Watch this. I'm going to switch to a brush that's called IMM Boolean. Okay? See all this? Watch this. Click that. Boom. There, I just sculpted a sphere with details that's cutting into the surface and pulling out of the surface all at once. Or I can say, you know, maybe I want that shape. Maybe I want this. And you know what? Maybe I want to move that and be like that. There is no way I can sculpt this fast what I'm doing right now. It's not possible. It's not going to happen, right? Draw this out, and there's some scribe lining. And then now watch this. Oh, I don't like that one. Remember, Lauren stumbled upon this? Turn the gizmo on, watch. What about if it's that shape? What if it's this one? What if it's this one? What if it's this one? No, 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 no. Right? I can, at any point in time, even swap these. Like, look at that. Oh, guys, I can't tell you how much I use this. It's insane how awesome the live bullying system is. Because don't forget, we can still move this however we want in space. Right? Because this is just a floating piece of geometry sitting here, and I can move it all around. Right? Because in essence, this is actually what that mesh looks like. And we're using all these little bits to cut out of the one above it, which is the cube. Right? So, oh, yeah. So hard surface now in ZBrush has just become way easier than it ever has been before. So that's why some of those examples I showed last night, people are using ZBrush a lot for hard surface now. It's like a no-brainer, like to draw something out like this. Right? Remember, guys, I showed you guys things like duplicating. Right? Think about it. Right? Okay, that looks cool. Now let me do. There. I just made a duplicating item going across. Right? That simple. There's just so, like I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. There's so much more to ZBrush that we could show. But I want to at least give you guys a little bit of a show of a feature that near and dear to my heart. But there are a lot of tricks for ZBrush, a lot. Okay, so let's open this up to the floor because it's already 1:11, right? 1:12 or 4:12, going on 4:15 here, guys, this time. What questions do you guys have for me? Nothing. Nothing. I suck.
Really? Come on, you guys.
I have a question.
I'm used to it, Bonnie. I'm used to it.
They never ask me anything either.
I know they don't. Yes, go ahead. Question. Throw it at me.
Well, I'm assuming you can do this. You can make your own booleans.
Yes.
Okay, because that would be really cool. And I assumed you could do that, but I just
You can
wondered.
listen. Think about it. You can use anything. You guys can import a mesh from Maya and use that to cut into the surface. Right? So for example, this little thing right now, think about it. All I have to do is say, oh, I want to use, let's say I want to use a sphere. Okay, just as an example, I come over here in my list, I tell, let me append and let me grab a sphere. Right? I can use anything here. I can use forget the sphere. We'll use my gorilla. Right? So this gorilla, he's just massive because he got printed out, like I said, like 20 something inches tall. So he's, I think, just a lot more bigger. See, he's way bigger than the cube, right? So I got this gorilla, right? So watch this. Turn it into subtractive, right? Which is this. You guys can see the icons, or do you mean to do this? Right? So you see I'm subtractive, right? And this is, guys, this is how people do special effects for film making. They literally do this. Okay? Now if I just start moving my gorilla out, what starts getting put in the surface here? The gorilla, right? This particular gorilla is made for printing, so, right? There's hollowness inside, I think, on this guy. So he's got, I see an inner surface. I made him for printing, so I want him hollowed out. So let me get rid of the hollowed out part. Right, and we come back into this, and then see, look, I'm getting a gorilla face in the cube.
That's so cool.
Because now ZBrush is using that gorilla as the mesh, i.e. the tool, and being used to cut the face into the model. Whatever you want to use, you can use. And the beauty of this is you change your mind, or you get critique a class and like, hey, that's not really working. It's going to happen. Guys, don't take it personal. We all have stuff, even me. I'll show something to a friend. They're like, what are you doing, dude? That's what are you doing? Right? So the beauty of this system is, okay, well, the gorilla's not working anymore. Let me turn it off. Done. Like, I don't have to sit there and go, oh no, how am I going to fix the sculpt? That's the big difference, right? I've just opened up myself to a non-destructive. What I mean by non-destructive is I'm not destroying the cube and trying to sculpt a gorilla in the cube. I took a gorilla sculpt and put it in the cube, which means I can turn that gorilla sculpt on and off whenever I want. Right, and that's how I did the words, like the gorilla. I made the words, which you can make inside of ZBrush. There's a plugin that allows you to make text and make logos and everything. So to your question, Lauren, yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's so cool.
If we had more time, I'd walk you through. That's like literally another hour, an hour and a half.
I'm sure you could spend like 24 hours at least just
100%.
explaining all this.
100. More, even more than that.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I teach a 10-week class at Noman. That's only hard surface. That's all I'm teaching.
Oh my
And
gosh.
even that, I have a hard time having enough time to get them through most of the stuff I want to show them, in all honesty. It almost now needs to be 20 weeks long.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot.
Just for that work. Right? There's just so much you can do with ZBrush. It's crazy. Okay. Any other question?
I got a kind of a question.
Yes.
I know you mentioned like the layer system with the different meshes. Is there like a layer system that you can use for sculpting levels? Like if you sculpt and like, well, yeah, like just like basically like, oh, I didn't really like that texture I put up there. So then you kind of just, instead of like smoothing it out, you just kind of delete the layer or hide the layer or something like that.
Yep. All right, so let's use the arm. All right, I'm gonna throw another feature at you guys. Again, sorry for going quick, but now I'm just more like, I just want to show you guys stuff. I'm at that point right now. Okay, so I'm gonna throw on surface noise. Okay, and let's make this arm look like it's actually more of like built out of concrete. Okay, so I'm gonna throw a noise on this. Let's zoom in. Okay, and you can see I got detailing happening here. So I'm gonna say, let's scale that up, right? And so now, if I frame this, see the arm starts looking like that. And I'm gonna say, let's play with this. And now it's more like broken up concrete, like parts of concrete. How deep do I want that to go? Or maybe I want it to pull out. I'm gonna make it go inward, let's say like that. So now what I have is this happening to the arm. Okay, but this isn't actually happening to the arm. Again, another non-destructive. I can turn it off, turn it on, turn it off, turn it on. And yes, before you ask, you can bring any image you want in and use any image. Yes, there's 3 types of noises. Okay, so to your question, Nigel, right? It was Nigel you were asking? In the tool, there's a layers menu right here. Okay, so you see this layers menu? So what I'm going to tell ZBrush is, let's apply now this noise. So I can say here, apply to mesh, and see now it'll actually apply the noise. And now this is there. See, it's actually sculpted detail now. Everyone see that? But to Nigel's question, he was like, well, what if, I'm not sure if I like that. What if maybe I'm doing skin pour, or maybe I'm doing like what I was doing on the head is actually on layers. I was doing the parts of which we can go to. Okay. I'm going to say this, give me a new layer. It's in record mode now. And what you can store on a layer is poly paint, i.e. color information, sculpting information, and masking information. It can all be stored on one layer. Okay, and because I'm in record mode right now, so you can see it says record, it's now recording anything I do to the model. And so now if I say come down here, right, and let's actually undo, go back to this. And now let's apply. It's now applied to the mesh, but that's been applied also to a layer that's in record mode. Right, so if I click right next to the record mode, see now it's got an eyeball. I turn the eyeball off, on, off, on. And then I can say, oh, I want to dial that back. Let's make it 0.5. And see now it's dialed back. Let's make it 0.2. Because maybe the critique is, hey, it's too aggressive, right? Or maybe it's the opposite, especially for me in the toy world. Hey, we need it to go actually deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper, right? So now I'm upping the intensity of that one layer, right? So then to your question, Nigel, yes, that's possible. And if we go to my head, I don't remember which one, might be this one. Let me see, I don't remember which one has it. That's exactly what I did for all these scales. Like before I went on this journey of hand sculpting all these one by one, I'm like, you know what? I'm not sure what I want. And I started using layers. So I don't know if this particular one I have the one with layers anymore. But in essence, that's what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yep. I'm just seeing if I still have the head that has the layers. Because I'm like that. I never know if I like the scaling or things like that. That's one I sometimes like to use layers. I don't think this one, because I save in iterations. I don't think this iteration has the original head. Okay. Wait. Nope. All right. Any other questions? While you guys are pondering, right? Let me show you this, right? Because now we've got ability to do dynamic cloth motion inside of ZBrush, right? So you see that little ball? I can actually tell ZBrush to look at that ball, evaluate it, and you see all those other orange pieces? I want you to collide with them. And it's going to start looking like cloth. Bam. Oh, yeah. So this is a new feature for 2021. This has got people all riled up and excited. So some people now aren't using Marvelous Designer as much. They're using ZBrush to do this cloth, right? And then I can stop at any time. See that? And I can even mask off like that. I just masked off that. And then I can go back and say, you know what, let's go even faster and run that. And see now the only part that's moving is this part down here. See, that's the only part that moved. It's down there. So I can run this simulation, right? And it's now this is all masked off, so none of that moves. If I clear my mask and run it again, you're going to see the whole thing start to move again. And it's just slowly working its way down the sphere, right? And I can even watch this. I can even do this. Since the calculations are done, how about I turn even everything off? And I can actually watch the simulation happen, and it still sees the sphere. And then see now it sees the floor, and now it's bunching up on the floor. Boom. Right? Oh, there's just so, and that's how I did that poncho for the gremlin. Right? So going back to the gremlin, that's how I did it. Here, I can show you guys really fast. Am I going too long now? Do we got to go? You guys got to stop me, man. I'm sure my wife is like, are you done yet? Because now we're going like 23 minutes back. Am I going too late? Do we have to end this? Okay, good feedback. Good feedback, everybody. Okay.
I'll cut you off at 4:30.
Okay.
How about
Yeah.
that?
You got to cut me off, man. I'll keep going. All right. So as an example, I want to make like, again, that little poncho thing that I made here for him, right? Watch how easy this was. I'm going to show you. This was ridiculous easy. Number one, I don't want it to go on his head, right? I only want it on his shoulders and his body. So I'm going to turn off the head. I don't need it, right? So I got to find, there's the head. I don't need the ears. I don't need that ear. Okay, and then you can see the spikes and the eyeballs and my gums and my teeth are all different subtools. I definitely don't need those. Don't need that. No, I want those. Don't need that. There's my eyes. And then there's the mouth. So this is all I need. Something like this. Good enough, right? I'm going to append just a plane. Simple plane. Nothing crazy here. So when I append it, it gets added to the bottom of the list. Okay? When I insert it, it'll get added right below the selected subtool. Okay, that's the only difference between a pen and insert. So I got this plane. I am now going to, let's rotate this 90 degrees this way, and let's rotate it 45 degrees this way. I'm going to move it up here in the world. And I need to actually get rid of some faces. Okay, so we have selection ability inside of ZBrush, which this is again a whole nother world to us. So I'm just going to quickly deselect some stuff here. I'm going to inverse the selection and say, keep that, keep that, keep that, and inverse again. Right? By the way, you can actually grow a selection in ZBrush, shrink a selection in ZBrush as well. Like there's all, like I'm saying, there's so much. There's so much. Okay, I'm gonna say even that's a big enough hole. All right. Delete it. Now watch this. See, it doesn't have any thickness. Dynamic subdiv, turn it on. Okay. And automatically add some thickness. There you go. That thickness actually does not exist. We're giving a visual thickness. We can make it exist here. We will make it, right? Here we go. Karate Kid. Miyagi time. Miyagi time. Okay. I'm now going to tell ZBrush, this is my selected mesh, this plane. I want to tell ZBrush, collide with everything else that you see that's in the scene right now, which in this case is my gremlin's body, right? So I'm going to come up here to the dynamics menu, right? And I'm going to tell it to calculate the collision volume. So I'm telling it for this mesh, go look at everything else that's on and calculate that. This is up a lot more up Bonnie's world, I think, too, right? You're still, they said you're still doing all the dynamic stuff, right, Bonnie? So this is now I'm going to say recalculate. Okay. And what I'm telling ZBrush to do now is, hey, I've got new subtools. Because if you remember, the last calculation was a sphere with all those shapes. It remembers all that. I'm now telling, no. I've changed the model, actually. I've got a plane. And now I want you to recalculate with this plane as a selected subtool and find everything else. In this case, it's the gremlin. Okay. And now I tell ZBrush, hey, I want to use gravity. Okay. I'm going to put it back down to 10. And see, there's other things that we can do here besides just gravity. And if I run the simulation, it runs and then collides with the body. Okay, and if I just keep letting it running, that's just going to keep going down the body, trickling down the body, right? See the cloth starting to fold? It's just going, right? And I click anywhere in the document and it'll stop the simulation. I just got to click anywhere in the document. I'm going to undo this and now watch this. I'm going to tell ZBrush, okay, let's run it. Okay, we're running. Okay, it hits the shoulder, stop. All right, this part of the cloth needs to stay on the shoulders. I'm going to mask it out. That's all I did. Nothing special, I just masked out. Come back. Okay, now keep running. And look, the shoulders don't move, right? And you see the cloth is now just going to start draping right to the body. And then now it's colliding more, and wrinkles automatically appear. See that? Everyone with me? Stop. And what I have now made is, now it looks like an ET. It looks like ET's blanket, right? And if you remember, I can control and say, you know, I want the thickness different. I can adjust my thickness on the fly, right? Because I'm dynamically, that's really what the mesh looks like, right? It's really a faceted low polygon. And what I'm actually, dynamic subdiv is dividing the mesh, but in memory, we're not actually physically dividing the mesh. Again, non-destructive buzzword for today. Okay, and so we allow thickness. But watch this. Not only do we allow that, ready? Buckle up, people. Buckle up. We allow to say how many times to divide. So you see, I divide more, it looks more smooth. I can turn this on and off. Now watch this. Micro poly. And let's make it look like more cloth-like. Boom. Okay. How about no? He's going to be crazy. He's going to be more like chainmail or something more like chain mail, like that, right? Or you know what? There's different. Look, here's Royal Oxford, which is a type of cloth. Literally, is a type of cloth. And I zoom in, and then that's what I'm getting. Look, swap it out with whatever you want. Here, you can do something simple like that, guys. It's endless. Like this is what I'm telling you. There's just so much in ZBrush that you can do. It's just crazy, mind-blowing stuff of what you're able to do and where you can really go with this. It's just insane. Like what we do sometimes is mind-blowing. I'm like, seriously? Wow, this is awesome. Here's like stuff like here. This looks like like metal pieces. So watch this. Because we're doing this all dynamically. Remember, okay? Let's pull on. Let's use this one. Okay. I can say, okay, that's cool, but it seems a little thick, right? All right, let me dynamically divide it up. All right, instantly different cloth. Let me go one more level. More cloth. See what I'm doing? I'm literally changing the density of the cloth on the fly. And not only that, wait for it. Let's grab a brush. One of my favorite brushes for cloth is Cloth Hook. So not only can you run a simulation of the cloth, I can actually brush with cloth. So I can pull on this surface and keep adjusting the cloth, and it's going to keep colliding with things that I want it to collide with.
That's
Right?
crazy.
Not only do I have just a simulator, we've ripped the simulation out and put it in your hand as a brush system.
Too much power.
All
It's
right.
insane.
Requires responsibility.
You're like
Yeah.
a god.
Yeah.
Really.
That was my thought, like this whole workshop, like he's a god.
I'm not. It comes down to you, the user base, right? It comes down to how artists are using the application, and then we start going, what can we make? We know an artist would love to do this. What can we do to make that happen? Is the way we work and the way we operate. Hence why I'm saying we don't make the program for, all right, we're in the film industry. Let's just make a feature only for the film people, only for the game people. We're more like, what feature can we make that the film people, the toy people, the game people, all these industries will want to use because we are used that way. Again, we're one of the only applications that I can say really, there's minimum 10 industries I can rip off that we are used in a large chunk of the industry. Like Maya's particularly going to be probably mostly film world, but I see it used in the game world. I'll see people using it also in the toy world a little bit, but not a lot compared to like, obviously the film world, Maya's it, right? The game world is going to be either 3D Studio Max or Maya as their main polygon and model application, as an example. Then Substance Painter gets thrown in, then Marvelous Designer, and then Marmoset in the game world. All that stuff gets thrown in there. Okay? So there you go. There's a little bit about the cloth stuff. Okay, so my challenge to you all is, what are you going to do with ZBrush now? What can you show me? Now I challenge you all to start playing with ZBrush. If you need help, definitely email me. I'll completely ignore you because that's the way professionals work. You got me for these hours and that's all you get me for. That's it. All jokes aside, people, what did I keep saying to you over and over again? Find the people in the industry, communicate with them. You have got one now.